NNP loves you. NNP love you. Well, I want to speak to you for a little bit again. A lady who loves you in a very special way. She's a special woman. She's royal. She's from the East. They said wise people come from there and good people live in the West. All right. So, St. John's, let's put our hands together. Let's invite Sister Emmanlin Pierre as she speaks.
Thank you, Mr. DJ. Thank you, Ajamu. Gouyave, good night. I want to especially recognize my political leader, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Claudius Mitchell, MP, PC. I want to also recognize my colleagues on the head table tonight. What a competent team. I didn't have to come down here tonight. But I want to say how happy I am tonight to report to duty and to see such loyal soldiers on the battlefield tonight. Gouyave, you make me feel good. A good soldier never take off his boots. Always ready. Yeah. Tonight I join our team to say that this is crucial times that we are experiencing at this time. And this is not a political statement. This is not a political statement. This is a statement that is deeply hinged upon the feedback that you get as you travel throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And anybody who says that they are not concerned, they are hypocrites. Because there are so many things, brothers and sisters, that we ought to be concerned about. And I believe in the mantra of the NDC. That's not an error. I believe in the mantra of the NDC that the people's voices must be heard. So do not attack people for speaking. Do not attack people for expressing themselves, as I said last night. Do not attack people for expressing their concerns, because the people's voices must be heard. Brothers and sisters, tonight I want to share on two subjects very quickly, as quick as I can. I can't take my time tonight. We don't have time. Yeah? I want to speak on two subjects very quickly that concerns the people throughout this country. Because you see, Grenada is small. If you live in Carriacou, the things that affect you affect the people in Gouyave, because we have family in Carriacou too. And even if they are not blood related, they are our brothers and sisters, and we ought to be concerned about them. So the first issue, brothers and sisters, that I want to quickly address is that of housing. And I want to speak specifically to the Chinese low-income housing. Brothers and sisters, the team of the New National Party, led by our political leader and our former brother Elvin Nimrod, would have negotiated so well on behalf of this country that we were able to get an agreement for housing for the low-income people, the people who cannot afford throughout the length and breadth of this country a gift. Note my word, a gift from the People's Republic of China. I believe that their major concern was that the government would assist with the infrastructure as it relates to those facilities. And they would have wanted the people who need those houses to benefit from them. And so that is why when you look back, there are many people today, thanks to the government and people of the People's Republic of China and the government of Grenada, they could have afforded to have a roof over their heads. That's not joke. This is not joke. This is serious matters. Because some of these people will tell you, had it not been for this program, they would not have a roof over their heads. But you see, there are some people, brothers and sisters, who don't understand the struggles of some people. They had it ready-made. They had it all on a silver platter. And so when you listen to the language that they speak, it is a language of the privileged. It is a language of the rich and fortunate. But I remind us all that this country comprises not just of the rich and fortunate. Unfortunately, we would always have those who are not rich and fortunate, and we have a moral responsibility to take care of them. Not just as a government, but as brothers and sisters, because of our Christian responsibility to look after those who are less fortunate around us. So I heard with my own ears a minister of government saying at a function, I sat there, I opened my ears and my eyes when he said that by the time the NDC is out of office, everybody in Grenada would be rich. There would be no more poor people in this country. And I said to myself, well, election gone. I mean, come on. Let's just be realistic. Let us just be realistic. Because you just have to take a trip to the United States, and if you can't, you just have to Google and ask yourself when you read, is it really truly possible in every nation, in any nation, to totally eradicate poverty, to totally eradicate people who are less fortunate and move them to another level? Brothers and sisters, we continue to empower people, but let us remember we are living in a real world. And those who move up, there would be others coming and needing an opportunity to move up as well. So these houses, brothers and sisters, these apartments were intended for people who could not afford to go to the bank, people who did not have $20,000, people who did not have monies in their hands that they could afford to access those houses through other means. But this government developed a policy, and I was amazed that anybody would refer to that policy as one that we are jealous about and we are complaining. Brothers and sisters, we are complaining because people who need those apartments cannot access them. Genuinely need the apartments, cannot access them. And then we were given a lecture on equity. Well, I sat there and I just looked. Because brothers and sisters, anybody who understands equity knows that it's calculated based on market value. So when you come in to teach people about equity, you must first understand it. Because you can only talk about equity when you have what it takes to access the apartments. And that is the real issue. People who need the apartments cannot access them. And therefore we are calling on this administration to review the policy, to make it more accessible to those persons who are in need. They tell us all the banks are on board, all the credit unions are on board. I wish they would tell us which bank, which credit union they have signed a memorandum of understanding with as it relates to that project. They told us 3%, 30 years to pay. They should tell us which bank. Brothers and sisters, only recently you called GDB and they tell you we're not ready yet. We don't have everything organized yet. Brothers and sisters, let us stop fooling people. Let us make these things available and accessible for the people who need it most. That is our appeal to the government of this country. Brothers and sisters, the second issue that I want to address, it concerns the Samoa agreement that you've been hearing a lot about, and I believe you have a right to know, because those who are supposed to be educating you, informing you, they have not said anything to you about it. And that is why tonight I want to quickly share with you why many people are concerned. So I believe you have a basic knowledge now of the agreement, one that is signed between the EU, its member states, the ACP countries, states like ours, African Pacific countries. And we have learned that our country, Grenada, has signed this agreement. Brothers and sisters, when you look at this agreement, there are many issues captured within this agreement, important issues, many of them. But I'm telling you tonight why I believe that every Grenadian, regardless of who you voted in the last election, regardless of who you support right now, let us put party politics aside, and I say, what has happened in the last few days should concern every Grenadian, regardless of your political affiliation. So you don't support party blindly. When you party right, say you party right. When you party wrong, say you party wrong. When your party need to check itself, your party need to check itself, because something is wrong. And I want to share with you why every Grenadian should be concerned. Brothers and sisters, I sat in amazement. I could not believe it. I listened over and over and over. Not you alone, Kami. I listened. No, this is not a joking matter. If she's in trouble, she's in trouble. It's not I don't believe I believe her. I believe her because this is somebody, no, this is not a joking matter. This is somebody who buys medication every month. And I can tell you, I have been tracking the cost of the increase in medication in this country. So there are people who cannot buy their medication when the month ends. So don't laugh if she says she's in trouble. I know it sounds funny that she said it the way she said it. But this is serious matters. I said last night there are people who are skipping high blood pressure medication because they cannot afford to buy it. So it is a serious matter. But back to another serious matter. Brothers and sisters, I listened. The Prime Minister and the Minister for Foreign Affairs said, we did not sign the agreement because we would not compromise our sovereignty and our morality. Brothers and sisters, I could not believe. I checked every source to make sure that I was not wrong. That while these people were telling us that they could not sign yet because they want to carefully study this thing, while they were telling us that, the agreement was already signed on behalf of Grenada. I say to you, if you're not concerned about that, then you're not Grenadian. Because this is dangerous territories that we are treading. Dangerous grounds that we are on. Brothers and sisters, even more frightening when I ask myself, is there anything else that you signed that you told us you did not sign? It is frightening. Is there anything else that we don't know that you signed, that you're not telling us that you signed? But equally, brothers and sisters, and that is why I said this thing is not about party now. If you love Grenada, you must be concerned. Because the fright increases when the leader of our country in the same press conference tells us that he never read the document. A document with such far-reaching implications, I would have been embarrassed to say publicly, I did not read it. I mean, we know it is a big document. The document is over 400 pages long. And we also know that the Prime Minister is very, very, very busy. But I say tonight that your busyness is not an excuse not to study an important document of this nature. Because there are some things that can implicate us as a nation and as a people. Brothers and sisters, there's another reason why you should be concerned. As I said before last night, when we look at recent developments within the region, there are some things that we have to go through, as old people would say, with a fine-tooth comb. Some things we have to scrutinize even more when we look at developments right around us. So as I said, I can't believe up till now that Cuba would have signed legislation, would have passed legislation to endorse same-sex marriage. Brothers and sisters, let us not go as far as Cuba. Let us go right in Barbados, where the conversation has already started. And we have heard from representatives of the government that they are looking into this matter. And that is why I'm saying we cannot, with what's happening around us, we cannot say that we didn't read the document, we didn't see the document. We have to be more careful. And that is why we always said to you, government requires responsible people. Government requires responsible people. But brothers and sisters, I listened that entire response, and I was shocked for the entire segment that dealt with this agreement. Because when asked about concerns raised by the church community, I could not believe the response that was given by the Prime Minister. He said separation between church and state happened a long time ago. And so, brothers and sisters, I want to now ask, does that mean, are we saying that the church must not have a voice in the development of legislation in this country? What are we saying? What is the message we are saying when we connect the church to a subject that has to do with morality? What are we saying? What is the message that we are sending? But makes it worse, he goes on to say that morality is a private issue. Brothers and sisters, listen to that speech in its entirety. Morality is a private issue. Well, brothers and sisters, I actually noted it here. When we speak about morality, we're speaking about principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, between good and bad. Brothers and sisters, when we start to speak the language that morality is a private issue, we are on shaky grounds. Because you go home tonight and you tell your children that morality, the distinction between good and bad, the distinction between wrong and right is a private issue. You go home and tell your children that and see what's going to happen in your house. Brothers and sisters, we cannot treat these issues so lightly. Brothers and sisters, we have to be so careful. We have to be so careful when we deal with these issues. But then the Prime Minister goes on, brothers and sisters, to make the point that he does not believe that the morality of a foreign country should be imposed on another foreign country, or their views should be tied to aid. Well, if I see him, I'm going to share this with you, but I'm telling you in case you see him before me. Brothers and sisters, a former U.S. Secretary of State said, "We must fight discrimination against gays and lesbians abroad using foreign aid and diplomacy." So don't pretend that we're in a world where the bigger countries are not going to use every opportunity to put something in a document. When you don't read it, you're putting us at risk. When you don't read it, you're putting us at risk. And that is the concern that people have. Brothers and sisters, we have to be careful with what we say and what we do. Only last year, let me read this to you. And I'm saying to you, not every person in Grenada, because the excuse for this was, people don't care about these issues anymore. Well, I don't know that you can speak for all people. If you don't care about those issues, fine. You're entitled to an opinion, but there are people throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique who still care about those issues and who still want their children to be protected. Big people can make their choices, brothers and sisters, but this is not about an individual thing. This is about a nation and the direction of a nation. So when in the document there's no glossary of terms, then you need to explain to me what equity means. What it means. Because the White House would have announced, brothers and sisters, and this is only recently, making equality the centerpiece of our diplomacy around the world. The centerpiece of our diplomacy around the world. Because we believe that LGBTQ plus rights are human rights. So when in a document there is equity, there is human rights, we must know, we must be clear, and that is why I'm calling on the government. Before any ratification, before anything further, we already gone and signed. We can't unsign now. So I'm saying that the government still has a responsibility to take this document around Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Make sure that people understand what we are dealing with. And so I'm going to close. Brothers and sisters, there are some things that are provided as frameworks and guidelines, and that are international, brothers and sisters. But I say to you tonight that when you are going to put your pen to paper, you have to be even more careful about doing so. You have to be even more careful. And I'll give you one example where there was not even a signing, and I'll close with this. Some years ago in Trinidad, I accompanied a technical officer, and I can call his name Mr. Arthur Pierre. I don't think he would mind, not related to me. And in that session, it was my very first meeting as Minister for Education. And the focus was on gender equality, inclusiveness, and a number of other things. And right in that meeting, Mr. Arthur Pierre can bear me witness to this, I raised my concern for clarity on what those terms meant. There was no signing. It was a regional framework that was developed. And I said to Mr. Pierre, and it was what I did as soon as I came back, we need to get the churches on board to make sure that this does not go out of control. The Ministry of Education can attest. The first thing I did when I came back, and I'm appealing to this administration, convene a meeting of the church community. So we called the AEC representatives. We called other senior pastors, Pastor Halen and others. And we called other pastors from the Conference of Churches. And brothers and sisters, out of that came values-based education. Out of that came a contract to support and supervise the implementation of the HFLE program. As a matter of fact, the person who led that initiative in the Ministry of Education was a minister of religion. That was the level of concern. So I say to us tonight, this is not a simple issue, and every Grenadian at home and abroad must be concerned. May God bless you, protect your country, protect your children.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.